Is your peace of mind controlled by the gaze and opinion of others? Do you feel obliged to justify every step you take, waiting for the nod of approval from the system, family, or even strangers on social media? Stop. This incessant search for validation is the greatest weakness of modern man, the invisible anchor that prevents him from navigating deep waters. The legendary samurai master Miyamoto Musashi lived his entire existence to prove one brutal truth: inner strength is the only invincible armor against judgment, the only wall no one can climb to disturb your serenity. This is the path to true independence. The voice of Musashi echoes through the centuries to connect directly with your pain. The man who still needs external validation is always on the defensive, always in a position of vulnerability. He is always dueling, not against a real enemy, but against the shadow of his own insecurity. The greatest victory, the Ronin taught us, does not happen in the sword duel, is not seen by an audience, but rather in the total victory over the need to prove one's own worth. The male dilemma is a tragic irony. The immense energy spent daily seeking approval, defending positions, and justifying the chosen path is exactly the same energy that could and should be channeled to forge your spiritual self-sufficiency. The true weakness of the modern warrior is not in technical competence, but in the sweet and destructive addiction to praise. You are giving yourself to the wrong audience. The symbolic image that summarizes your freedom is the solitary tree. It stands firm, deeply rooted at the top of the mountain. It doesn't need anyone to see it, anyone to applaud it, or anyone to agree with its height or the direction of its branches to be strong. Your current tension, your anxiety for acceptance, is simply your ego's desire to be seen and recognized for what you do and not for what you are. In the next few minutes, you will understand the principles of discipline and self-control that lead you to total independence. The guiding question that must dissolve your reactivity is: how can you build an inner strength so unshakable that criticism, judgment, and even excessive praise become just distant noise that never disturbs the imposing silence of your peace? If this message of authority and freedom has already resonated, leave a like now. This helps spread consciousness about the true path.
What men feel but almost never name is the chronic exhaustion of performance, the heavy weariness of sustaining a facade. The veiled unease is the emotional price of selling your soul. You may be living an entire life wearing complex masks to satisfy the expectations of others, whether they are family, boss, or the social system. You have become an actor of yourself, and your soul, your deepest self, is clouded and tired of acting. The central conflict is therefore the ownership of your peace. Your peace is not an external possession. It is given and taken at the discretion of others. This emotional dependence is the invisible anchor that prevents your boat from sailing, condemning you to the beach of insecurity. The esoteric master Gurdjieff, despite centuries separating him from Musashi, draws the same diagnosis. The legitimacy of the conflict lies in the fact that most of humanity lives in a state of sleep, reacting mechanically to the external without true consciousness or control. Dependence on validation is the deepest and most comfortable sleep of modern man, as he outsources the responsibility of defining his own worth. The natural metaphor that frees you is the shadow that follows you. The judgment and criticism of others are not real attacks on your competence or your being. They are merely the shadow that you, in your action and presence, project onto the world. You do not need to fight the shadow. You do not need to argue with it. The only necessary action is to turn towards the light, towards your own internal discipline. The energy you spent trying to neutralize the shadow now turns to building your center. Your weakness is the need for the world, with its volatile opinions, to agree with your worth. But the respect that matters is your own. If you recognize yourself in this, stay with me until the end. There is a freedom that changes everything.
The transforming concept that breaks the cycle of dependence and ignites the flame of independence is the secret of the solitary path, the Doko-Do. This is Musashi's transforming principle. Unshakable strength, absolute self-control, is found only when you cut the dependence on anything, be it physical, emotional, or above all, social. The warrior forges his mentality and respect in isolation, where there are no witnesses to his path. The inversion of logic is liberating. You do not become independent by being arrogant, reactive, or defensive. You become uncontrollable because you have absolutely nothing to prove. True self-affirmation is not noisy. It is perfectly silent and relentless. The ultimate symbol of your freedom is the mountain. The mountain does not move, does not explain itself, and does not justify itself to prove that it is real. It simply is in its complete and massive independence. Your silent presence must be your only proof of competence and worth. The psychological connection is immediate. The peace you seek is the end of the negotiation of your ego with the external world. You establish your worth from within, based on your discipline and action, and not on the fleeting reflection the world offers you. Mini epiphany, inner silence is not absence. It is the sound of your strength that needs no witnesses. If this idea makes you think differently, subscribe. This channel exists to keep the flame of male consciousness and independence alive. The practical heart of this teaching is the ritual of non-judgment. The possible transformation happens when the liberated man, the modern Ronin, treats criticism and praise with the same strategic indifference. This is the purest form of self-control. In the everyday example, the point of tension arises when you are judged or questioned. The man who seeks freedom does not defend his action. He applies Gurdjieff's symbolic action of remembering oneself, the action of being present in consciousness. He observes himself feel the need to react, the impulse of the ego to justify itself, and immediately cuts it off, regaining control.
The real micro-practice is the inner mirror ritual. This practice must be incorporated into your path. Upon receiving any form of judgment, be it destructive criticism or inflated praise, pause. Feel the emotion of the ego arise and pulse in your body. Then, in an act of discipline and strength, silently say only, "I am sufficient regardless of this." and return with unshakable focus to your task or your path. This action disarms the validation system. The inner change is the leap from reactivity and justification to the lucidity of self-sufficiency and independence. If this practice of self-control has resonated, subscribe so we can continue to forge this path. There was a Ronin, a warrior who freed himself from the constraints of the clan and the system to follow his path alone. This is your exemplary story. The common warrior's mistake was seeking external duels to prove his worth. The turning point came when he realized that chaos was not on the battlefield, but in the mind. The inner result was Musashi's serenity, who reached the height of competence and freedom precisely by having no one to report to but himself. The silence of independence was the sound of his final victory. Feel your strength now. Find your center, the point of unshakable discipline in your body. Breathe deep, slow, and profound, allowing the inertia of your breath to anchor you. Remember your focus. The silence you perceive between the words, between the thoughts, is the sound of your independence. It is your proof that you have control. Your ego cannot exist in that focused silence. The anchoring phrase is your action and self-respect. I am my own master. I am sufficient. Your freedom resides in the ability to tread your path alone. The world only controls your peace and your energy if you give it permission. The unified lesson is your self-control. The discipline of solitude, Musashi, is what allows the awakening of consciousness, Gurdjieff, the exit from sleep. The true conquest is always interior. Your inner strength is your unshakable center, your highest competence. Do not allow your worth to be negotiated, your peace to be conditioned. The respect you earn by treading your path alone is the only one that matters. The master needs no audience. Assume your solitary path and be free. Subscribe and comment free if you feel this truth and are ready to embrace your emotional independence and self-control.